And now, finally, for the top 5. I should preface this with, aside from the number 1 pick, which is there pretty firmly, picks number 2 through 5 are honestly just a hair apart from each other. They may be low in the top 5, but there could be arguments for any of these games to be reordered at any given point in time. This is just the order they ended up in this time around. Alright, now coming in at number 5 is Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep. This game features the Wayfinder trio in Terra, Ventus, and Aqua. There are 3 friends who live in the Land of Departure, and Terra and Aqua are preparing for their Mark of Mastery exam to become Keyblade Masters. However, Aqua passes and Terra fails because he failed to keep the darkness within him in check. But a man named Master Xehanort says the darkness is nothing to be feared and that he should embrace it. These monsters called the Unverse then begin wreaking havoc on other worlds, so Terra and Aqua's master, Ericus, sends them to investigate and neutralize the threat. All of this is happening, a boy in a mask named Vanitas shows up, who has some connection to Master Xehanort. He convinced Ventus that Terra's in trouble, which makes Ventus go after Terra. So now it's up to the 3 of them to both neutralize the threat of the Unversed, figure out who the boy in the mask is, and find Master Xehanort. Now, this game would honestly be one of my favorite stories if Days didn't exist. It's a great story that introduces a ton of new characters and the main villain of the entire saga, Master Xehanort. One could argue that this game is the most relevant to the story for that alone. Giving context on the secret ending of Kingdom Hearts 2 and also having multiple playable characters, each having their own side of the story, was a nice touch for this game to have. I enjoyed how each character had their own special set of strengths and weaknesses. Terra is the slow moving yet powerful tank, Ventus is the speed guy who can get out quick hits, and Aqua is the more balanced yet magic based character. Having that difference really gives the player the ability to customize their preferred character to really make the gameplay their own, as opposed to having one character to work with the entire game. For example, going against the secret bosses and trying out different strategies with different characters gives the game a good amount of replay value. Also, being the first game to implement the command deck system was a nice way to change the gameplay enough to make a noticeable difference, but still keep the game close enough to its roots to keep it familiar. However, this game does have its flaws as well. I'm sure you've heard this a lot, but the combat is great in this game, but also really floaty. It doesn't really give you full control of what you're doing and really takes a portion of the gameplay out of your hands. Terra is honestly the worst offender of this because when you play as him, you really have to commit to an action before you take it if you don't want to get punished for it. This was kind of fixed in the final mixed version, but not really. It was still kind of an issue when I played it last. Then, there's the problem of the characters themselves. Terra, Vin, and Aqua are probably my least favorite trio in the game. Not to say that they're bad, but the thing that stops me from liking them as much as the Destiny trio, the Days trio, or even the trio of Sora, Donald, and Goofy is that we really don't get to spend much time with them as a trio. What upsets me about this game is that the game tells us that they're friends, but we don't really get to see what that means. We really only get to spend about 30 minutes with them as friends before the story rips them apart, which is what makes the story concerning them kind of weak. With every other trio, we get to see some great moments with them over time because we get to spend time with them. That's one of the reasons I like Days so much. But with Terra, Aqua, and Vin, the trio doesn't really talk to me as much because we have these great moments with them as individuals when they think of each other as friends, but we don't really get to see them interact with each other as friends again, except for a couple of cutscenes throughout the game. That in itself makes it a double-edged sword because the characters have good development and good moments concerning their friends, but not necessarily good moments as a trio, which in my opinion really hurt the story in terms of why I should care about these characters or whether or not they get to find each other. Overall though, the story was still very compelling, and while the relationship between the characters was a little lacking and the combat was slightly frustrating, it was still a great way to introduce you to the characters that would have a huge effect on the series proper for years to come. It's still a great Kingdom Hearts experience with fun gameplay and plenty of replay value, which lands it at number 5.